our comparative advantage. Because when Tanzania and Kenya try to do the same thing in the same way, we fragment markets and dilute scale. But when we specialize and integrate, we create a strength. And let me give a few examples. Take, for example, the question of logistics and trade corridors. Tanzania offers a strategic port capacity, Dar es Salaam, and in future Bagamoyo, serving the southern and central corridors. Kenya, through Mombasa and the northern corridor, serves East and Central Africa. So where is the competition there between Mombasa and Dar es Salaam ports? We can leverage these advantages and create even a bigger logistic hub within the region. And therefore, these are not competing systems. They're actually complementary gateways. In energy, Tanzania has abundant natural gas resources and growing generation capacity. Kenya has made significant advances in geothermal and renewable energy. Imagine the opportunity in power pooling, cross-border energy trade, and industrial energy security. This is where integration lowers costs and boosts competitiveness for both countries. Another example in agriculture and agro-processing, as previous speakers have said here, Tanzania has vast arable land and production potential. We have 44 million hectares of arable land. Only about 33% of that one is already cultivated. And what do we have in Kenya? Kenya has strong agro-processing, branding, and export market linkages. If we connect production with processing and markets, we build a huge regional value chain instead of us exporting raw materials to Europe, to America, and other countries. Let me give the last example. In the digital economy and finance, Kenya has global leadership in fintech innovation. Tanzania has rapidly expanded digital adoption and a large youth market. Together, we can scale innovation and cross borders, not as two small markets, but as one big integrated digital ecosystem. This is what we mean by leveraging comparative advantages. Ladies and gentlemen, Kenya is already a very strong investor in Tanzania. It is the 8th largest investor in Tanzania. And the data are very clear. But the point here is that it is not just about more investment. It is also about smarter investment. Investment that recognizes where each country is strongest and builds linkages. On our part, Tanzania is continuing to improve the investment environment. We are strengthening our one-stop center. We are expanding our special economic zones. We are investing heavily in infrastructure, as you know. We have our SGR, our ports, our roads. We are also improving the regulatory environment and reducing bottlenecks. And more importantly, and our DIRA 2050, we are positioning the private sector as a lead sector in terms of driving our economic transformation. And our vision is cognizance of the East African Vision 2050, which projects that by 2050, the East African economy has to be $10 trillion. And we want to contribute to that one to $1 trillion by 2050. Let me also be clear here, as others have said. Governments can only create the environment. It is you, the private sector, who will drive the economic integration. Our role as government is to have the right priorities, and I think we have the right priorities, is to create necessary conducive environment, and that is what we are doing, and to catalyze the actions. And this is why our two heads of state are meeting this afternoon, to do all these things. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, this forum is therefore important because it brings decision makers and investors into the same room. So I'd like to encourage you to focus on a few practical outcomes. Firstly, you try to identify joint investment opportunities, not parallel ones, so that you are able to leverage comparative advantage. 2, to address the remaining non-tariff barriers that increase the cost of doing business in East Africa. And by the way, we have done a lot of progress already. I was a Minister of Industry and Trade a couple of years ago. By then, we were talking about Tanzania and Kenya kuchomeana vifaranga. I think we are now much more civilized. We have moved ahead. We have already addressed a lot of non-tariff barriers. Let us use today's state visit and today's forum to address the remaining non-tariff barriers so that our people are able to trade freely. Because there can be no meaningful political freedom without economic freedom. Economic freedom includes our people being able to do business across the borders easily. And 3 is to build cross-border value chains in key sectors, and most importantly, to think regionally when making business decisions. And all of us travel to Europe, to Asia, to America. If Europe are uniting when it comes to matters of trade and investment, who in Africa we think that we can make a meaningful impact in the global economy by moving parallel? We have no option. We have to come together as a region, as a continent. And I hope that today's forum kickstarts a much more meaningful and bigger economic integration, and not of us leaders, but of our people who are doing business. Because in today's world, competitiveness is not national, it is regional. The world is competing regionally, not nationally. And this is important, and I hope that this forum addresses that one. As we say in Kiswahili, so I had a similar saying in Kiswahili with my friend, kidole kimoja hakivunji chawa, lakini kwa sababu ameshatumia hiyo, let me use another one. Umoja ni nguvu, utengano ni udhaifu. If we get this right, Tanzania and Kenya will not just grow, will anchor the economic transformation for East Africa and the continent at large. Ladies and gentlemen, the global economy is changing. Supply chains, as we know, are shifting. Investors are looking for stability, are looking for scale, are looking for connectivity. East Africa, and especially our two countries, has all the three. We have stability, we have the scale, we have the connectivity. This is our moment. Let me conclude by reaffirming Tanzania's commitment to deepening economic cooperation with Kenya and the East African generally. To our Kenya's guests, you are not just visitors, as I said, you are partners, you are relatives, biologically and socially. Watu wamezaliwa Kenya wanakaa hapa, watu wamezaliwa Tanzania wanakaa Kenya. Siku hizi tunaoleana mambo mazuri tu. Sasa kwa nini tugombane? Lazima tufanye kazi pamoja. Let us use this forum not just to talk, but to agree on concrete actions. Let us move from potential to performance. We talk a lot about we have huge potential. Let us now transform those potentials into performance. Again, karibuni sana Tanzania. I wish you fruitful discussions and a very successful forum. God bless Kenya. God bless Tanzania. God bless East Africa. Asanteni sana.
Asante sana, Mheshimiwa Waziri. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. This is our moment for us to take. Thank you so much, Honorable Minister. I think the statements of the speeches by both Honorable Minister and the Principal Secretary emphasize on the opportunities available, the importance of complementary cooperation, and how to turn opportunities or potential into performance. Now, to prepare us for the hard work of the day, and it's going to be hard work, I should promise, this is not going to be an easy ride. We will hear two brief presentations from the two investment authorities, just to tell us what are the potential in the two countries and what can we do as private sector to turn those potentials into performance, as Honorable Minister said. So I know the two of them are straightforward. You'll be going to the point. So you'll have 5-7 minutes, John, to present the opportunities and the potential in Kenya and what one needs to do to turn those potential into performance. Technology team, if you can upload the presentation and the audiovisual aid that he had prepared. And then after the CEO of Kenya Invest, then I'll invite the Director General of TISEZA. Karibu, Mr. John Mwendwa.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Allow me to ride on the established protocols due to the time constraint that I've been given by the Master of Ceremonies. So what I will do is share a short presentation, which is on your screen, a few numbers so that we do justice to the largest gathering of Tanzania and Kenya investors in modern times. I am told by my colleague from the Tanzania Investment Authority, we have nearly 1,000 companies from Tanzania attending this forum, and just slightly under 200 from Kenya. And we're excited. So what I will do is I move the slides. I don't have a slide mover here, so just move. I'll make a presentation, short one, and then I'll share a short video, and then we'll, of course, interact more during the day. So please, the control room, if you may move my slides. I don't have the slide mover here. I want just to emphasize on three main aspects that you can see on your screen around investments, trade, and of course a strategic partnership. And you can see the numbers on your screen, Kenya to Tanzania investments and in Tanzania to Kenya investments. We think this number in the next 5 years could get into the multiples of billions, which is a really important thing. And in matters trade, you can see we are now at the $1 billion mark. We think we can also double, if not triple that number in the coming years. And of course, being members of East African community and the cooperation frameworks we have, this continues to really be a very exciting story. Moving on, I want just to emphasize that these two economies, 88th economy for Tanzania and Kenya, around 66, thereabouts, is a good story. And we hope, possibly in the next decade, they could be top 50. These two economies could be top 50 in the world, which is something very important. Our export-import numbers, I will not share most of this because the speakers who have spoken before me have spoken about it. Near level trade balance, and we think as well, there is really, and the minister say not talk about potential, there is opportunity to change this performance into a better story. And where there are import opportunities, those are export opportunities as well. We must keep on balancing it as well. So allow me then to share just 3 points, as you can see on your screen in quick succession. Kenya's unique opportunity. I will not do justice if I did not talk about the value proposition for Kenya and the sectors where, if you are sitting in this room, you can talk to us about, and of course the enablers for investment in Kenya. So we want to guarantee you, if you're looking for a plug-and-play environment, your investment is protected, no restriction in terms of foreign company ownership, you can expropriate your profits, there is no risk of forceful acquisition of your business. Kenya is a place to be, multiple incentives, and I'll be getting to that fairly shortly. And the story of Kenya is written by many other companies like yourselves. More than 300 multinationals today exist in Kenya, and we know we have a few of them from Tanzania, which I want to send the next slide. You see that these are just some companies. There are a couple of Tanzanian companies who are in Kenya, but we just thought, given some of the recent ones, including Taifa Gas, Amsons, etc., we want to really grow this number. We know there are 500 plus from Kenya who are here, and some of them are in the audience. We want to, of course, balance this and have many companies from Tanzania investing in Kenya. So then let me spend a few minutes sharing with you where you can put your money, where you can explore joint partnerships, where you can do greenfield investments, brownfield investments. Ignore this slide, it's a bit busy. I'll go to the next one where I can give you the details on this. And the first three you see there between manufacturing, agriculture, and livestock, these are the sectors that have got significant contribution to GDP. And we know Kenya is a manufacturing hub. Tanzania has got a manufacturing ambition. Agriculture and livestock is 22% of our GDP. The returns are double digit. And we can share more about this. These are just a start of where we think is really good opportunity for both Tanzania and Kenya investors to talk, have a conversation, and we can give you a plug-and-play environment to be able to start off. The second slide I want to share is just those three sectors. The digital hub for the continent is Kenya. We are big in tech. We are the leader in data, funding, etc., etc. We have a big housing agenda. Construction sector is doing very well. Government of President Ruto is really ambitious in creating that environment, and we know of an acquisition in the connection to take advantage of this. And of course, we are sisters and brothers in our tourism ecosystem. We continue not only to welcome Tanzanian tourists, but also offer bankable opportunities in hotel industry and hospitality. If you want to really plow some money and really partner into a tourism space, we'll be able to give you that as well. And my second last slide on the opportunities. You know, our Kenyan people are very creative, the creative economy, film, art, and I am sure you also meet them on social media. They are the best in class in the world, and we have a lot of room to innovate. I want to echo the words of the minister who say the innovation in this space can transcend either country and be joined. Our mining is nascent, emerging. We did a wonderful mining conference recently. The Minister for Mining from Tanzania joined us, and we know there's a good story of mining from Tanzania. Kenya is really ramping up its pace. We welcome you to work with us so that whatever is underground can come upstream, and we can do a lot of beneficiation, our blue economy, and of course our environment and forestry because of carbon credits. These are really opportunities that we can be able to share with you. We will not fail to talk about potential investments, especially in infrastructure, logistics, as has been said by speakers before me, our energy systems, and this is really about public-private sector partnership opportunities, which I'll share details about. We are really ramping up our energy mix from 3 gigawatts to 10 gigawatts in the next 7 to 10 years, and there really remains a lot of opportunity to work with you. We want to ask you to just, if you can scan that QR code or visit our website, investkenya.go.k, you'll be able to get this project catalog. It has a lot, about 50 plus opportunities, and I will just share a flavor of some of these projects, because if I have 1,000 companies here, I would like at least some of you to live with some projects, and these projects are available. And moving on, you'll be able to see a spread between our National Infrastructure Fund, which is our brand new infrastructure fund, which is seeking to mobilize nearly $43 to $50 billion worth of investment across multiple sectors, public-private partnership opportunities, private sector opportunities, etc., etc. These are all listed in that document we just shared a short while ago. And these are some of the examples in the public-private partnership space. Our Mombasa Highway is a really good project. I will not go through all of them. As you can see, this information will also be available at our booth outside. These are just some of the public-private partners that are available for most of you who are in the room. And you can also look through some of the buckets that our National Infrastructure Fund is seeking to roll out between irrigation, energy, road, transportation, innovation. These are just new emerging opportunities, large ticket items. We encourage both private sector here, including some of your pension funds, private equity players in Tanzania, to work with partners not only in Kenya but around the world to work around these opportunities. We also have some pure public sector opportunities which are nascent, which are ongoing, are available for you to take advantage of, and some of them may also look for private players to come and invest, but public sector is also going live, issuing tenders as options for for private investors to take advantage of. And my final one is really, we also have private sector companies who are looking for partners. So if today you want to find a Kenyan company that wants a JV partner, we just have a sample of them. We have more, but this is just an example of some who are saying, look, if you have some money, we are ready, we are already operating. Let's look at how we can do an equity play. If there's debt, KCB is here, and we are happy to ensure they can also see whether they can be able to do this with you, and we have much more to share. So my final slides will just be about the enabling ecosystem for Kenya, and I'll be very sharp and on this. The first one is really our stock market, the largest in the region, nearly $25 billion market, as you can see there. A lot of people ask for an easy way to enter and exit a country. The stock market presents that opportunity. We are raising capital very aggressively through the stock exchange. So please think investments through this portal as well. The second is really our special economic zones, incentives in terms of tax benefits that are available, corporation tax benefits, and there are lots of zones in Kenya, and I know our colleagues in Tanzania were talking to us last evening about how to have joint zones as a way of ensuring we can co-create opportunities of how to make investments move across the region, and this is available. And as I heard the scary number from Honorable Minister of, the much arable land that is available here, 43 million, Honorable Minister, hectares. We have 500,000 acres already ready for you. It's a small scale compared to what we have here. But if you like to really see how you can scale up there, please talk to us and we'll be able to give you a lot of information. And finally, before I sit, it is always a good question to know, where do you go when you come to Kenya? Please talk to us. We funnel you to any arm of government, just like TISEZA does here. You do not have to go to a lot of places. We have a one-stop center. Our work is to walk with you the journey from when you're in ideation and thinking through things all the way to when you're in operation, or should you desire to exit, we can see what options we can give for you. And because we have been limited by the national ceremony, you'll allow me, as I sit down, to just share with you a 2-minute clip about the summary of what we have said about the investment narrative, what we call Kenya's investment dynamic. I thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and look forward to a wonderful session today. Thank you.
Kenya, the largest economy in East and Central Africa and the 6th largest on the African continent, offers investors a stable market growing at a rate of 5% annually. This isn't just a place to pause, it's a place to scale. Located at the heart of Africa, Kenya is an established and mature democracy with over $50 trillion in global market access and trade corridors connecting economies and people. Kenya offers scale, stability, and speed for global capital. From agriculture to apparel and leather manufacturing and much more, Kenya produces for the world. From our fertile lands to global shelves, Kenya feeds the world with quality and consistency, exporting tea, coffee, flowers, avocados, nuts, and herbs to every continent. From electric mobility, pharmaceuticals, to green innovation and technology, we are building the industries of tomorrow. Here, power is renewable, with over 93% green energy driving industry, cities, and sustainable growth. From smart buildings to eco-lodges to electric vehicles, Kenya is redefining sustainable living at scale. From all corners of our country to the region's capital, our road, rail, and air networks connect businesses to opportunities. This is Africa's Silicon Savannah, where technology powers inclusion and innovation drives growth. Fintech moves billions daily, with mobile money connecting people and driving businesses. Home to 85% of East Africa's tech startups, Kenya is the continent's digital gateway, ranked #1 in Africa on startup funding. At the Nairobi Securities Exchange, capital flows with confidence, fueling enterprise and new frontiers of opportunity. One of the best performing stock exchanges in Africa. Supported by a robust banking and financial ecosystem, Kenya is a regional financial hub on the continent. Across special economic zones and industrial parks with progressive fiscal benefits, opportunities scale fast. Invest in Kenya for clear incentives, investor protection, and a robust legal framework. Our greatest strength is our people, young, skilled, visionary. They are not waiting for the future. They are building it every day in every corner of our land. Home to more than 300 multinationals and growing, and the only United Nations headquarters in the Global South, including UNEP, Kenya stands as the environmental capital of the world. We are predictable, competitive, and open for business. Kenya offers high quality of life, vibrant cities, world-class hospitality, and extraordinary natural landscapes. A place where global talent can live, work, and belong. Kenya is where Africa's industrial growth takes shape. If you are looking for scale, speed, certainty, and a gateway to Africa's fastest growing markets, invest in Kenya, because the future is already here.
Thank you so much, John Mwendwa, for an excellent presentation and an excellent video. Now, before I invite, as we are going to the floor, Gilead Terry, the Executive Director of TISEZA, allow me to recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Energy, Engineer Felchemi Mramba. I know you wanted to sit in quietly. I've noticed your presence. Please, if you can stand. I know there will be a lot of energy deals and people will be coming to you. Karibu sana, Engineer Mramba. I also allow me to recognize the presence of the Deputy Permanent Secretary, Minister of Industry and Trade, Mr. Aristides Mbwasi. And also, thank you so much, the Deputy Executive Secretary of the Planning Commission, Dr. Milanzi. Thank you so much. And I will introduce others as I recognize them. You saw the competition. or the partner, right?
Yes.
Now the ball is on your court. The partner, right? It's not the competitor. The ball is on your court, Gilead.
Thank you very much, John. May we kindly start with the promotion video from Tanzania, and then I'll say a few words. Over to you.
Where will your business be in 50 years? There is a country that has set its course far ahead, a land of vision, youth, and ambition. This is Tanzania, your getaway country. In 2025, Tanzania launched its Vision 2050, a bold blueprint for a competitive, inclusive, industrialized economy, one that embraces sustainability, technology, and prosperity for all. Tanzania is the gateway to East and Southern Africa. With world-class logistics and new infrastructure, we connect your business to over 1.4 billion people. With over 94% mobile money penetration, digital banking, and venture capital support, Tanzania is investing in people who invest in ideas. TISEZA, the Tanzania Investment and Special Economic Zones Authority, brings it all together. One stop, fully digital, fast, and investor-friendly. Under the leadership of Her Excellency Dr. President Samia Suluhu Hassan, Tanzania is building global partnerships, implementing significant reforms, and welcoming sustainable investments. Where will your business be in 2050? Choose a country with a plan. Choose the country building the future today. Tanzania, your getaway country. Your future now.
Thank you. So in our presentation, allow me to quickly run through 5 key messages which I think are important for all the business people that are here this morning. The first message is that if you come to do business and invest in our country, what kind of support will the government of Tanzania give you? And I would want to be very specific. Next slide, please. Next one. Next one. Yes. So the first thing that I would like to present to you is the opportunity that we have set out for special economic zones. We have most of these laid across the country, but at least 4 of them are the most important that we would like to present to you as an opportunity today. Our biggest one is the Bagamoyo Special Economic Zone, which is 45 kilometers north of Dar es Salaam, where our new international airport will be built over the next 36 months. Around the area, there is an approximately 9,800 hectares of industrial line that is connected to the port, ready to use for any investors that are interested. We have set zones in other parts of the countries, including Dodoma, including Kahama, which are dedicated for specific products. For example, the one in Kahama is specifically for mineral processing within the country. So these special economic zones are specially created for any investors that are looking for plug and play and ready to invest industrial infrastructure across the country. Next slide, I would like to talk about the incentives that you will get should you decide to come and do business in our country. The first thing, all your raw materials and capital goods that come into your factory would enjoy 100% duty-free exemption. We provide exemption on capital goods and raw materials. We also present 75% reduction on import duty on deemed capital goods. Your capital allowance, should you invest in agriculture, is 100%. So whatever you invest in this sector is 100% deductible in your tax calculation. Same goes for 50% if you invest in hotels, fish farming, as well as tourism services. Again, very quite high levels of depreciation depending on the levels of depreciable assets that you put in your investment. The next slide, we have 33% discount in any investor that wishes to invest in pharmaceutical, textile, as well as leather products. And we provide 60% discount in your corporate tax for any investor that goes into assembly of motor vehicles, fishing boats, as well as tractors. And one of the areas that myself and my colleague John will try to pioneer in the joint special economic zones is assembly of new energy vehicles. So for any investors who is from Kenya and Tanzania interested in new energy vehicles, we'll be putting a cluster of new incentives specifically for anyone interested in the sector. The next one is for special economic zones, where you'll be able to enjoy 10 years of corporate tax exemption for any investor that wishes to process not only locally produced goods, but those that also integrated with international supply chains for export market outside the East African community. And this is something that definitely we welcome for Kenyan investors and Tanzanian investors in the room. So that is the first message. These are the kind of support, these are the kind of incentives that we will give you. If you go into our special economic zone, we even have a much bigger level of incentive. If you go to the next slide, we have put specific incentives for any investor that can set up within 12 months. Should you be able to start your factory from groundwork to commissioning within 12 months, off your first batch of 33 years of your lease fee within our special economic zone. So for any fast mover interested in the Tanzanian market and the East African market, this is a very special incentive that we have put for manufacturers within the region. And I think this is why we can proudly say Tanzania is fastly growing to become Africa's great manufacturing hub. Building permits will be issued within 24 hours within the zones that we own. We provide 75% reduction of import duty on your distribution trucks. Same goes to your factory warehouse, as well as all your licenses and permits will be served within one-stop facilitation center, the same way as my colleague John does in his special economic zones in Kenya. So this is what we offer. Anyone who is in the room and is keen to do manufacturing in Tanzania is our great offering. And definitely outside in our booth, there will be much more materials that we can share with you for anyone who would want to invest in our country. The second message is the scale of opportunities that I would like to mention. If you can go further down. Next one. The scale of opportunities that we have. Tanzanian economy is quite unique compared to other African economies. We understand that if you look at economies of many African countries, you will find one or two commodities that are quite heavy in terms of their production, in terms of the size of the economy. Tanzania is a bit unique. 20 to 25% of our economy is agriculture, but we have around 10% of our economy being in manufacturing, another 10 to 12% being in construction and real estate sector, another 10% being in real estate sector, and so goes services and sectors like mining that also have around 10% of our GDP. So the depth of opportunities in our economy within the East African context is quite unmatched. And this is why Tanzania has been able to cushion different downturns of the economy trajectory across the world because of the scale and the depth of opportunities that exist. And what this means is that we are also able to welcome different kinds of investors from different parts of the world. So we will have our brothers from the East that are quite heavy in manufacturing. We will have our brothers and sisters from the West that would be interested in green technology, renewable energies, tourism, and the rest of it. And we would have also investors from different parts of the continent that also take advantage on this particular size of sector. Real estate is one of the largest growing sectors in the economy at the moment. And again, the scale of opportunity within the East African community is quite unmatched. The fourth message that I would like to mention today, the third would be the joint special economic zone that my colleague Mwendo has also mentioned. But the fourth one is continued engagement. The buzz that we have received today, and I was telling John yesterday, on this economic forum is something that we have not seen in any other investment forum that we have hosted in our organization. The desire of Tanzanians and Kenyans to engage is the biggest compared to the desire of Tanzanians to engage in any other country worldwide. And I think this is a signal that continued engagement should be there. My last two messages. First one is that the scale of investment within Tanzania has really grown for the last 5 years, and I'll show you the numbers in the next slide, please. In 2021, we did 252 projects in a year. In the year 2024, following the reforms that Her Excellency Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan unleashed in our economy, we had our best investment year in the year 2024, with 901 projects worth $9.3 billion invested in Tanzania. And this is triple to when Her Excellency had taken office 3 years prior. This had been the best investment year in Tanzania since 2013. The year 2025, we beat the record for the year 2024. 927 projects worth close to $12 billion, quadruple the amount that Her Excellency had found when she got into office. And what this is telling us is that Tanzania is on the rise, and really, that buzz, we are feeling it in the room today, and we are very happy that our Kenyan brothers have come to see it. My last remark, 50% of the investments that we registered last year are either Tanzanian-owned or Tanzanian joint ventures with foreigners. In Q1 this year, that number was 56%. This wasn't the case 4 years ago when the number was hovering between 10 and 20. And the message is to our Kenyan brothers is we are coming for the top spot. And by 2030, our economy will be the largest in East Africa. Wait for us. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gilead. As Honorable Minister said, we are brothers, and even brothers compete even in there. So this is good competition, when it's competition amongst brothers. Allow me also to recognize the presence of the Deputy Governor of the Central Bank, Dada Sauda Msemo. Karibu sana. Thank you so much for being here. Now, I got a complaint that there are too many men showcased so far. Monica, I got your message. We tried. Up to this morning, we thought the President of the Federation would be here, but she couldn't make it. I think she got stuck somewhere else. We thought Carol would be here, but Carol decided, oh, Carol, thank you so much. You were on the program earlier, but then you decided to invite your boss to speak, but she's here and she'll probably speak. But we tried. We also invited the CEO of NMB Bank, but I think many banks now are either having board meetings, etc., etc. So we tried. So I also like to recognize the presence of Solomon Michael, the country director for Trademark. Thank you so much. Now, Honorable Minister, Honorable Principal Secretary, we want now to start into the real business of the day. And as you've seen in the program, we have structured the conversations today around 4 topics. The first topic is the big picture topic, looking at what can we do to unlock the private sector potential between Tanzania and Kenya. What actions private sector would like to do? What actions will the private sector like the government to do to create more synergistic relationship between the two countries? So that is going to be the first panel that is going to start immediately. And so there's going to, and maybe let me also warn you, there's not going to be really official tea break. Coffee will be served throughout. If you're thirsty, and those that are coffee addicts, I know there are people who can't survive the whole day without coffee. Coffee serving sessions are outside, thanks to, I think most of it must be Amimza coffee. Mr. Amir Hamza, one of the producers of the best coffee in the region, courtesy to him. So we're going to start that straight away with the first panel, and then we are going to have parallel sessions One will focus on infrastructure, transport, and digital connectivity. That panel will take place in this hall. Parallel to that, we will also have another panel talking about banking, financial services, fintech, etc. That will also happen in the room. I think it's called the room next to here. Our plan is to have the first panel for 45 minutes or so. The second panel again 45 minutes, so that by around 1 we can go for our lunch break. So apologies for those panel members who have prepared for long presentations. So without further ado, my name is John Lang. I was actually just stop that MC. I was not supposed to be the director of ceremonies for this morning, but unfortunately the directors of ceremonies have been caught up in other things. So my actual role was to be the facilitator of the first panel, the moderator of the first panel. So apologies for monotony. I'll be speaking quite a bit, but I will just the stopgap, the director of ceremonies. So for the first panel, let me invite members of that panel so that we can start the engagement. I know, let me invite the chairman of Taifa Group, Mr. Rostam Azizi, the panel. Let me also invite the group CEO of KTV Group, Mr. Paul Russo. Are you still calling yourselves the bandits? Karibu sana, Paul. Let me also invite the presidents of the two chambers, Mr. Vincent Bruno Minja, President of Tanzania National Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Eric Ruto, the President of KNCCI, also Mr. KK Mutai from KNCCI. He's not here. Oh, that's, if he's not here, it means our panel. Good. So we'll go into the conversation straight away. Oh, okay, good. Sorry, apologies. The technology doesn't seem to be very supportive. So without further ado, the reason we have this panel is to set up the tone. Of course, the minister, the permanent the principal secretary, and other speakers, including the two of you, have kind of set the tone of why are we here? What do we see ahead of us? What should we be doing? But I would like to hear from the two practitioners from private sector. Rostam, you have been an investor in Tanzania. You have now a lot of investments in Kenya. What do you see as the biggest untapped commercial opportunities existing in our economies? And if you look at a 10-year horizon, what do you see could be the role of private companies, private sector executives like yourselves to really untap this potential, moving from potential to performance. What do you think you can do? And also you can give us your reflections. What do you think the government can do, or governments can do, to make it even more possible for you to do what you're doing? Karibu.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister, Professor Kitila, Permanent Secretaries, Deputy Governor, fellow businessmen, ladies and gents. Thank you very much for giving me the challenge to start the whole conversation. I think the conversation should not be about trade. The conversation should be about building a single commercial system, a system that can compete at scale to attract capital to serve the region and the global markets. This system, the single commercial system, should go across Tanzania and Kenya, and together we can achieve that. So we move from trading to something much greater than what we have at the moment. You see, the world, we have, the GDP of the world is the GDP of the world is $100 trillion. The debt is $300 trillion. So obviously, governments cannot borrow much. And it is the opportunity or the necessity for the private sector to step in and do the work. So this is how the global situation looks like. If you look at our own two countries, Kenya has already reached its ceiling in the sense that it can hardly borrow. Tanzania is nearing that level, which again makes it necessary for the private sector to get involved. So if you have a single commercial system that takes both countries together, the scale is what will attract capital, and that capital is what is going to develop the economies of our two countries and really unlocking the potential that we have. You see, we're talking about small GDP really. $130 billion for Kenya and about 100 billion for Tanzania are small numbers given our population. So we obviously have a lot of potential, but this potential can only be realized through joint projects. For example, let's look at PPP. We need to harmonize our PPP and identify a few projects that can make a difference. And through that, after harmonizing our PPP, we harmonize our capital markets, we can issue bonds, we can have individual investors, we can do IPOs, and that can seriously transform the infrastructure of our two countries, enabling these two countries to really, really unlock the true potential that we have. So I believe that the way forward is to create a single commercial system between our two countries and unlock all the potential that we have in order to realize the true potential of our two countries, which in 2050 will have 250 million people. And we have an ambition to grow this economy to $1 trillion by 2050. Kenya has a similar ambition. I do not see how we can reach those ambitions without working together as a single commercial system that can give us scale, which will then attract capital that can be invested, and that's how we should move from here. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. Thank you so much, Rostam. I'll later come back to you with a question on the action that you think the two PSs for investment should start thinking to creating that single commercial system. I'll come back to you in terms of what do governments have to do to make that possible. Paul, you have had, Rostam, you as being the Group CEO of KCB Bank, operating throughout the region, you know the markets very well. Where do you see the biggest untapped commercial opportunities? What can we do to really tap those potentials? Karibu.
So thank you, Chairman, and I will call you Chairman in this instance. For those who don't know, Ambassador John Ulanga was Chairman of KCB Tanzania for more than 5 years. And it's probably the period that the bank has done exceptionally well. Unfortunately, our governance does not allow us to bring him back. You serve, but I think we have another ambassador as the chairman as we speak. So thank you so much, and we truly appreciate it. I think allow me to say two things first about KCB as I transition to answer your point. So we've been in this market since 2008. And I know the team are here, but the progress that team has made in the last 6 years is amazing. Amazing in the sense that it's just not growth of the bank, but truly bringing to life what I believe is important for a bank, and particularly for all businesses. I think we need to simplify why institutions or businesses exist. And my considered view is they exist for prosperity of the nation, the prosperity of people, and definitely, the prosperity of those own businesses. Because I think we wire business for profits in a number of instances, Chairman. And if that case then is true, we as institutions, for example, KCB, that is present in 7 markets, must take a bet in what we are discussing today. To unlock investment, you have to be deeply committed to it. And I think in many instances, we've tended to evaluate businesses and opportunities from exactly that, rather than unlocking the potential. I think the minister did mention moving from potential to performance. If you want to move from potential to performance, somebody has to take a bet on you. But I think, Chairman, there's something we don't want to address in the room. Private sector loves predictability, loves transparency, and investment will follow. And I think the challenge that we have for a number of us, particularly in the private sector, is to take the lead to deal with the mistrust. And I know it's relevant in the room. And maybe you called me bandit earlier on. You know I will say it. Private sector must take the lead. And I think Rostam just said, waiting on the sidelines for government. And I don't know who government is if it doesn't involve the private sector. To take that lead, to tackle that, I think we will be wasting an opportunity. Number 2, and I like the minister's speech, is scale. If you want to create scale, focusing on one nation or one market is not going to help. And we are here today because we are trying to be bold in opening that space. In the 4 years I've been KCB Group CEO, I've seen significant investments from Tanzania into Kenya and vice versa. And if I asked Rostam here, if he would have given us a chance that we would be the people who take some lead on some significant investment, many people would doubt. Because we tend to think it's either international banks or we tend to think it's somebody else that is going to enable. So I'm staying away. The numbers have been crunched. The numbers have been explained. But I think we need to rewire back to why we exist and take a bet in the markets that we operate in. Think about the progress we've made. If you listened carefully, John Mwendo and his counterpart in Tanzania, there is significant alignment in their presentations. I don't think we've been in that space before. There is collective alignment on non-tariff barriers and what we need to do. I don't think we've been in that space before. We've made significant progress. But I think we need a step where private sector takes the bold lead. You want me to ask the challenge I give government? Involve private sector a lot. We've got to have a lot more engagement between governments and private sectors. We are not in competition between government and private sector. We're actually thriving for the same nations, the same people, same businesses. I can only say the work that the KCB team in Tanzania, leave alone the group, has done in the last 6 years is a true testament. And they're here. That you can move into a country in 25 years and make significant contribution in that country. Finally, I think, Chairman, I will say, we're not just talking about move regional business, try and partner across, try and move. It is actually a survival instinct. In 2023, and I like using examples, and I've worked in this country for 3.5 years in Barclays. In 2023, with the pressure and performance issues in Kenya, if KCB had not moved to extra markets, to the 7 markets, would have announced a profit warning. It makes business case to diversify. It makes business case to partner. It makes business case to thrive outside of your home country. I thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you so much for very powerful remarks. Private sector should take the lead, should take the bold lead. Here we have 2 presidents with small p's. President of KNCCI, President Eric Ruto. What do you think is the role of private sector umbrella bodies like yours to really create an institutional mechanism for stronger collaboration between private sector in Kenya and in Tanzania so that collectively we can untap the potential that is existing in our region?
Thank you very much, our distinguished guests, Honorable Minister, Principal Secretaries, my colleagues who are here, captains of the industry. As a private sector business membership organization, one of the things is that looking at the numbers, there's a number that's been dropped here. Our population is around 130 million. I was trying to look at countries that have that population and see the wealth that they do. If, for instance, we go to Japan, they are approximately 123 million, with a GDP of 4.2 trillion US dollars. That's approximately, GDP per capita is 34,000 USD. Our combined GDP between Kenya and Tanzania, on average, is 2,000. So it means they are approximately 20 times richer than us. Me as a practitioner, my colleagues who are here, however hard we work, we'll still be punching 20 times below those economies with that kind of population. Very quickly to Russia, has a GDP of around 2.2. Mexico, 1.9, with a GDP of 15,000 USD. Coming to Africa, Ethiopia, our neighbor in the north, is 135 million. Their GDP per capita is 1,500. So what is this problem that we do have in Africa? As a business membership organization, I think the most important thing is that most of our countries have put up fiscal incentives. I'll come to Tanzania, presented here. You're giving me tax benefits, I'm investing in a special economic zone, but is that the real solution? I think the real solution lies in commercial incentives, and I think my colleagues have done here. I'll give an example of the industry where I'm in. I'm in the pharma healthcare industry. The total combined for East Africa is around $3 billion US. Kenya by itself is the leader in that industry, but only at 30%. Tanzania is doing around 10-15% of local production. But even if you are to look at what you call the active pharmaceutical ingredient, it is not coming from our region, and it is because of economies of scale. I'll give you an example of the most simplest pharmaceutical product, which is paracetamol. That product produced outside the continent will be cheaper than to produce here just because of commercial incentive. That for each and every per unit, a producer outside the continent will be making maybe 0.1 US cents per tablet. For me to be able to recover the cost of investment, the capital, and the cost of servicing the plant, I'll have most likely to make $1 US per unit. So therefore, what we need to do is to be able to open these borders. We cannot, as Africans, sit down and be content with a GDP per capita of 2,000 USD, 1,500 in Ethiopia. And the main reason is that we are not interconnecting ourselves. So our biggest opportunity as Africa and as Kenya and Tanzania is to be able to have commercial incentives so that if I were to set up a factory here, I've seen 3 special economic zones being marketed by Tanzania Investment Authority. For me to be attracted to come here, there has to be a commercial viability in terms of economies of scale. And I think that is what we need to solve in Africa. We are very rich. You Tanzania, have 44 million. Kenya, in terms of our factories, textile, in terms of cotton, the chairman here of KEPSA, his factory is operating at 50%. Edible oil, we have 12 factories operating at 50%. Tanzania, you have the land, you have the raw material. We can be able to produce for our market. Kenya, we're importing almost 90% finished textile material. We're importing almost 80% edible oil. You, Tanzania, have a big land, arable land. We can be able to connect ourselves. We can be able to get raw material from Tanzania to be able to add value for our market and even for inter-African market and globally. Finally, because the financial system is here, we have to interconnect ourselves, and I think that is a big opportunity. We have, the Kenyan banks over the last 20 years have grown to be like the largest banks because they've become regional. For me, if I do trade within the East African community, in terms of transferring money, it will cost approximately 10 to 15% more. And we trade almost 75% using the US dollar. So I think that's a big opportunity, especially in the financial sector, because finance is the oxygen for investment and for trade. So I think those two, commercial incentives and financial incentives as a region. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Eric Ruto. Vincent, we have made statements, and I completely agree with what you've said. Now, my specific question, what can the two chambers do together to really strengthen integration between the private sector in Kenya and the private sector in Tanzania?
Thank you very much, Ambassador Olanga, also Minister of State, Planning and Investment, and all guests. we as Chamber of Commerce, we have agreed already. I visited Kenya National Chamber of Commerce twice, and also today we had a meeting in the morning. We have agreed to set up a joint committee which will work together and will combine the investors which are in both sides to make sure that we unlock the potential which is around us. Because what it is now seems to be, even you go to our officials, also business community of Kenya and Tanzania, we are still in the mood of competing. And now we want to compete with the global. So our two chambers, we are working very closely, and we'll start working very closely. Today also we sign MOU to strengthen that, to make sure that we work very close to change the mindset of Kenya and Tanzania competing. Instead, we go to complement. We wanted to go together to convince our government also to having a project, public-private partnership project, which is crossing to both countries. Okay. For example, in logistics, we can have a project in logistics which is crossing Kenya and Tanzania, instead of thinking of having only project of Tanzania and also Kenya having the same project. The other issue which we are having between us is about the NTBs, non-tariff barriers. Our traders among our country, they are suffering NTBs. We have decided that we are going to work together to make sure that we remove NTBs. Because, for example, say, we having TBS here, Tanzania Bureau of Standards. They are regulating the standards of our products. Kenya also having a Kenya Bureau of Standards. They also regulate it. The same product which is manufactured here in Tanzania, maybe steel bar, when it go to Kenya, they will start testing it again. So we increase cost, time, and business is about time. Also the same in Kenya, when they certify it, when it comes to Tanzania, it starts again to be certified. So this is a point which we want to work together to make sure that trade between our two countries is being easy, and also government working together with us, then we can reach our targets.
Thank you so much. Dr. Ruto, let me put you on the spot. You know, the last time Tanzania-Kenya Business Forum happened in 2021, when Her Excellency President Samia came to Nairobi. 5 years later, because President Ruto is coming to Tanzania, we are having the next business forum. Should we wait for 5 years? Should we wait for 3 years? Should we wait for presidential visits for businesses to meet? What have you agreed as the two chambers together with the private sector federation?
Thank you very much. And I would say definitely it's not nice and it's not good for us to have a very high-level business meeting happening every 5 years. But I would say myself and with the Chamber President of Tanzania, Mr. Minja, is that in the last 1 year we have met twice. We have met in Nairobi. I've invited him. We have had a conversation on how to interconnect 12 countries in the East and Central Africa. We have also met when I hosted the whole world in the World Chamber Federation Summit to be able to showcase what are the opportunities in our region. So I would say, as the private sector, and there's a lot that has been talked about, a private sector-led economic development. So what I would say, and the challenge I would give to business leaders and business practitioners, is that actually government should be trying to catch up with us. When we find any opportunity, we should be able to go to government and tell them, this is a kind of the roadmap that we want you to create for us. This is opportunities that we are seeing as an investment. So we don't have to wait for very high-level delegations like this for us to meet. So I think with the experience that we have had and the conversations that we are having with my brother here, is we can be able to solve challenges on a day-to-day basis, on a month-to-month basis, and even be able to interconnect businesses across. We have a program with Tanzania on digitizing businesses across 5 East African countries. We have something called iSoko. That is, I means internet, Soko is, Swahili is a marketplace. So we are trying to digitize a trusted product e-commerce platform among ourselves so that we can be able to increase the intra-East African trade and finally the intra-African trade.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
We have about 10 minutes, and let me go to Rostam. I really like that concept of a single commercial system. So I would like you to highlight a little bit more. What could be the role of governments to help the creation of this single commercial system?
Thank you. The role of government, policy consistency, transparency, governance, really in general, predictability. In order for this to really take place, you'll have to be able to attract capital at scale. And if you're to do that, then your governments better be serious about how they govern, because that's the only way you can attract such capital. And it is that kind of capital that can transform our countries. Let me just give you one example. A country the size of Tanzania needs approximately 70,000 megawatts of electricity to really develop a league of $2,000 to a GDP of $20,000. At the moment, Tanzania does not even have same case with Kenya. Kenya and us are pretty much. We are going to develop. We really need to scale. So in order to scale, capital will not come if governance is not there, if consistency is not there, if predictability is not there. So that would be my advice to our two governments. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rostam. Paul, it's like you're processing a lot of information. Your reflections, share with us your thoughts on private sector should take the lead. That was your biggest challenge. And you have given an example of what KCB has done in terms of taking the lead. Look at the two chambers, look at the chairperson of KEPSA, look at TPSF. What do you want to tell them in terms of what could be their role, but what could be their role of business executives, investors, to really take the lead in unlocking the growth potential that we have? And as he is responding, I'll only provide 5 minutes if someone has a burning question, a burning comment. It's not an opportunity to make a submission, a presentation, just a quick question or a quick contribution.
So, thank you, Chair. I think it's important to acknowledge that there's been some real progress. Yeah, I think the call for some of us is to create a burning platform. We have to provoke that the pace is not enough. But I want to emphasize that there's been progress. And linking to what Rostam just said, I'll only add one more thing first in terms of government. Government must remain a facilitator. Government needs to be a convener for private sector, and I'll come to answer the. I think the teams leading, the different, whether it's chamber, John Mwenda and his team in Invest Kenya, Caroline in KEPSA. A lot has happened. But the reality is, it doesn't turn the potential to performance, right? And if we don't give examples, we'll then actually be holding ourselves back. Today, post those, those years when you had the meeting in Nairobi, we can lift significant names that have invested cross-border. We can. Today, Amson's group runs what used to be Bamburi, whether it's under Mbeya Cement or in Bamburi or East African Portland Cement. If I asked you, Chairman, 3 years ago, you'll think it would happen. Because we have to confront some of these things, right? If you go back close to 10 years ago, special economic zones were there, but they're coming to life, right? You've got to give Rostam the confidence to invest in Dongo Kundu, which has always been a blueprint in Kenya. But that bold move to be able to do that, those have happened in the last 3 years, and that progress is happening. Significant investments in cement, right? And I'm speaking to particularly those that KCB is behind and enabling. I think there has been a lot. What we shouldn't accept is that pace is okay. Right? And I like again what Rostam has said. If we don't fix the cost of energy as a fundamental issue, forget manufacturing, forget infrastructure, forget data centers to the scale in which that we want. And for you to be able to do that, you either go PPPs, or you facilitate as government the private sector players to come together to be able to bring that to life. So, Chairman, I'm a bit provocative. There is a lot that has happened. But I'm a fan of what the minister said, scale, pace. We must create some impatience. If we are really going to be, whether you, and I like the fact that, the trading block, but whether you are going to be the investment side of the map of the continent, it depends on how you choose it. Pace has to be. And I can give you another example. The last World Rally Championship, Safari Rally Championship in Kenya, was the first time run by private sector. Government stopped spending 5 billion Kenya shillings in rally and moved to give private sector. We have positions for brand in that setup. We've got the skill and to run, and we let the government be the umbrella to just guarantee that we'll get the rally back. So there are numerous examples, Chairman, and you know me. You've got to face it. But the pace.
We have to be impatient.
We have to be impatient.
Asante sana, Paul. I can see Mr. Leonard Nsusa, chairman of Tanzania Breweries and many other things. Okay. Quick question or reflection?
Okay, I think great contribution from all the panelists, and I think I love it. In terms of what Mr. Rostam has said, what governments need to do, etc., excellent. My challenge is execution, because all along you can have great policies, etc., but we don't execute very well. Yeah. Now, I recently read a book by Tijani Thiam, Without Prejudice. He talks there about the possibility, and I think it aligns with what the speakers have said, of an African country achieving transformative growth. And he lists the factors in there. Feel free to buy the book. It's on in our bookshops. Great story of what he thinks can be done. And all these things are great, but we will need the ability to execute fast. We don't execute very well. We have great policies, and I think I've once or twice mentioned to Honorable Kitila Mkumbo about the wonderful documenting, the wonderful plans. But where you've been encouraged, they've given you all the great story about what they will do for you, the execution is pretty slow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Another hand. Execution. Oh, I can see there's a lady over there. No, I'm not sure how can help. Yeah. I can assure you I'll not be able to pick all the hands, but I'll only pick a few. Okay. If you can do your contribution in 30 seconds, a minute maximum, Karibu.
So I have a challenge or a question.
Yeah, I think the microphone isn't.
Hello?
Yes.
So I have a challenge or a question. The main theme today has been about collaboration, unified borders, working together, but Kenya has a notably more advanced economic and industrial advantage to Tanzania. Although we are quickly trying to catch up, it is true, or it is notable to say that Kenya is ahead of us right now. Because of this, Kenya's industries are more developed and efficient, and they can quickly dominate ours if we were to unify. So how could we avoid producers in certain areas being de-industrialized if we were to unify?
Well, can you introduce yourself?
Oh, my name is Natalia Kasaga, and I'm in the private sector.
Natalie. Oh, okay, Natalie. Where's Joseph? Where's your dad?
He's at home.
That should question. Okay, so the question is the fear for competition. Because Kenya is advanced in terms of manufacturing capacity. We outpace the local industry in Tanzania. So that fear of Kenyan economy overpowering. I'd rather throw it to you or to you. Okay. Now if I'm to give you the last opportunity, the question has to be so thought-provoking. And it has to be from someone who is doing business between Tanzania and Kenya. Someone who is an investor, an industrialist, or into manufacturing. That hand is still up. You know, I was trying to create criteria for the hands to go down. That one is still up. Would you please introduce yourself? And that's going to be the last question. And if you don't fit into those criteria, I'll ask you to sit down.
Thank you, Chair. I am Anthony Musyoki. I represent Isuzu East Africa. We manufacture vehicles in Kenya, and we're selling vehicles in Tanzania.
Oh, Isuzu, okay.
Isuzu.
Yes, yes.
We have our branch in Tanzania,
good.
Dar es Salaam. So I wanted to talk about the fear of the lady and also ask a question related to that.
I don't respond to the question?
No, I'm not responding.
Okay.
My question will be to respond to that fear specifically. So basically, one of the problems that we're facing, talk about private sector and government a lot, but I think we're forgetting about the people of Kenya, the people of Tanzania, and largely the people of Africa. The people of Africa, one of their biggest problems is cheap credit. And this is a problem that we're facing for Kenya and Tanzania where we're doing business.
Can you please just ask the question?
Yeah, so I think my question goes to Paul Rousseau. What can we do and what can our government help us to do to achieve cheap credit at single digits interest rates for our people? SMEs are suffering, and that is where the growth will be.
What can we...
So what can we do to do that, to achieve that?
Thank you so much. I'm sorry, I have to be a bit strict because of time. So this is an opportunity to either respond to a question briefly or provide your final reflections as we come to the close of this discussion. Thank you.
Yeah, I think cost of capital will continue to be a significant subject. Frankly speaking, I'm a fan of lending to private sector. You know, at the moment as chairman of Kenya Bankers Association, I'm pushing for a double-digit growth to private sector from a -2. But there are so many factors that are in interplay, to be honest. What I think we need to do a lot more is to find better ways to structure, find different sources of capital, but also to deal with the different elements that make those costs high. I know in many instances people think I'm very abrasive when I say as long as private sector is competing with government for funding, deposits will be expensive for banks. That will fire credit up. I don't think there is a short-term solution for single digit as far as I'm concerned, given the different factors. But I think there is opportunity to structure facilities to better suit cash flows for institutions, and there is expertise to be able to do that. And like I said earlier on, Chairman, if you're doing business and you're not doing business for posterity of the people, the nation, and not business, chip will come from somewhere else. And that chip will not come from Kenya. You know where that chip will come from. So if we think about competition between Kenya and Tanzania, hello, it is not actually your threat. In fact, the earlier we work together, the better for our own people and our markets. Simply put, I think remember what I talked earlier on about mistrust? We have this blocked view, these shades we put in, that the person on the other side of the border is your competitor. We are stronger working together to be able to make businesses in each of our markets thrive, and for us to get better returns. I think it's a conversation we must confront.
Thank you so much. I think that deserves a round of applause. Asante sana, Paul. Rostam, your final reflections?
Thank you. I think Paul has put it really well. That our salvation working together. Our countries are not going to be developed by the Chinese or the Indians or the Europeans. Our countries will only succeed when we ourselves get together, pull our forces together, and run the show. So this is why I was advocating for a single commercial system between Kenya and Tanzania. Because for all intents and purposes, we are really one country. And if we shall leave the politics away from this. We're sovereign state. But as far as the economy is concerned, we shall harmonize, we should be seamless, we should be able to do whatever we want to do in each other's country, and that will give us scale. Tanzania is endowed with natural gas. I said earlier, for every million people, you need 1,000 megawatts. Turkey today has 90,000 megawatts for 80 million people. Malaysia has 30,000 megawatts for 22 million people, so slightly more than 1,000 megawatts every million. So in order for us to develop, Kenya and Tanzania would need, by 2050, would need 240,000 megawatts. Where does that electricity come from? That electricity can only come from Tanzania. It is here that we have the gap. Where does the market come from? The market comes from joint population. Where do the services come from? The Kenyans are far ahead of us. The services will come from the Kenyans. The banking, insurance. So you see, this is how we complement each other without competing. If you look at Europe, when we're growing up, 80% of the UK economy was manufacturing. Today, the economy of UK is only 20% manufacturing. The manufacturing has shifted to where the advantages, the competitive advantages, which is Germany. So likewise, in our own area, we're going to reposition as we go forward. Kenyans will do things that we cannot do, and we will do things that Kenyans can't do. We have more arable land. We've been told here. We need to feed all these people. We need to employ all these people. This is why I said that we need to move from where we are to a single commercial system that is completely borderless. We can leave the politics away from this. This is finance, commercial, economics. This is the only way we can grow to $1 trillion economy for Kenya and $1 trillion economy for Tanzania by 2050. So let's change the mindset. We both need each other. Let's treat each other with respect, and let's treat each other as equals. When we do that, we have the right leadership in both countries. Leadership that really does understand how economies work. Let's take advantage of that and change the way we work. If we do that, we are saved. Tanzania and Kenya is a gateway to Africa. These are the two countries that have, the access to the Indian Ocean, the biggest trading route of the world. And luckily, we have many countries that depend on Kenya and Tanzania for its survival. Access to the world. Let's make use of being together so we can serve the region, and together we can compete with the world. We need joint ventures between Kenyan and Tanzanian business people. We need private-public partnerships. We need to work together as one. This is the only way we can develop and we can take care of our people by making sure they have jobs when there are 250 million of them in 2050. Thank you very much.
Asante sana. Thanks so much, Mr. Rostam Aziz. When I was doing a lot of emphasis on the importance of gas, I was looking around. That's when I could recognize the presence of the Permanent Secretary, Minister of Energy, Permanent Secretary responsible for oil and gas, ndugu yangu Dr. James Mataragio. Please, naomba tukutambue. Please, I did not recognize you earlier. My apologies. I should also apologize. There was a panelist that I did not invite, and that's entirely my fault. That shows the problem of my eyesight. Mr. Ashish Mistry, you are supposed to be sitting over there. Now you are there. I will invite you just to provide your quick reflections. My sincere apologies. No, but still, I would like you to say a minute, just for a minute, something about what do you think about these discussions? What is the role of a company like yours in untapping the potential that we have in exactly a minute? And my apologies for not inviting you.
No worry. Thank you, panelists. Okay, we are a manufacturing company, Safal Group, as we know. So we as a company would like to introduce the AI into the manufacturing, which can make
FSDT. Because I think the conversation that is coming in terms of fintech, digital, etc., I think he needs to participate. Back to the panel, Dr. Eric Ruto, your final reflections.
Okay. Just to maybe answer my sister there is that fearing competition from Kenya. The first thing in terms of industry is that Africa, out of 3% GDP contribution to the global economy, Africa only contributes 1%. So we are even 3 times lower than what we do GDP to the world. I'd like to give you one analogy. Kenyans, we are extremely good in marathon. And we win marathons very well. And we've had records of marathon. Tanzania, when I checked, you're extremely good in football.
Also
so I would say...
Also in marathon nowadays.
Pardon?
Also in running, we are getting much, much better.
Okay, perfect. And, you know, for you to be able to produce that record holder, we have 10,000 marathoners who have sharpened that one single marathoner. So what I would say is that for Tanzania, we invite you, let us compete together well. We know we are not very, as a region, competitive in terms of cost of credit. Why? Because we are exporting that credit to other nations. We are not very competitive in terms of energy because we are not having industries at scale to be able to produce energy so that we can be, right now we are paying 2.5 to 3.3 times more in terms of cost of energy because we are not competing at scale. So what I would say is that we still have a huge way from 1% to 16%. So that competition between Kenya and Tanzania should not appear anywhere. Finally, as I close, as representing the private sector, especially from Kenya, I was here, I came for a conference in Tanzania, Zanzibar, 7.5 years ago. And talking about the non-tariff barrier, I was asked for a yellow fever card. That yellow card is that it was a little bit uncomfortable because I had forgotten it at home. So I had to go rush back. But what I see actually, it is Tanzania putting something called a non-tariff barrier. Fortunately, when I was going to Zanzibar, I saw a mosquito in the plane. So when I arrived, I asked the immigration person, you've checked whether I've got a yellow card, but have you checked whether the mosquito there has a yellow card? We're living in the same ecological zone. We have mosquitoes, millions of them crisscrossing between Kenya and Tanzania, and we cannot be able to control that. So what I would say is that let us remove all these non-tariff barriers. I think that is one thing that we are requesting from the Kenya private sector.
Thank
and
you.
We can be able to develop together. Thank you very much.
Doctor. Your final reflections is about mosquitoes. Thank you.
And I think the message I would like the minister to carry home is the non-tariff barrier has to be removed.
Okay.
The first thing is the yellow card.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah. That was 7.5 years ago, right? Thank you so much, Vincent. Your quick 30-second final reflections, your key message from all these conversations we've had.
My key message today is that we are not competing, we are complementing each other.
Thank you.
If you look at Tanzania, we have a lot of potential in the tourism industry. And we have promoted the tourism industry for almost 3-4 years now. We have increased the visitors. But when you look in the number, this visitor, who is bringing them to Tanzania? Mostly is Kenya Airways. So we are not competing. You see, if we are competing, then Kenya Airways is not going to bring the tourists to Tanzania. Also, you see Tanzania have a lot of potentials in terms of energy. On my thinking that what is economically viable to produce in Tanzania should be produced in Tanzania so that you can compete globally. What is economically viable to produce in Kenya should be produced in Kenya so that you can compete globally. If we are competing each other, it means we are not economically viable to compete with the global because we produce in a small scale, which is not possible to compete worldwide. So the best thing we can do is to complement each other. Tanzania will have a lot of resources, energy resources, mine resources. Kenya, they are ahead of us in terms of service and the technical know-how. They can come to Tanzania, establish a big factory which have got the economic of scale, and they sell to Tanzania, Kenya, and the rest of the world. Currently, our avocado, which is cultivated in mostly in Njombe, Mbeya, and Songwe, they are marketed by Kenya. Through Kenya, they are going globally. This is a market strategy we can use it as East Africa and also Kenya and Tanzania.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vincent. I think we could continue, we could go on and on, but I think we got the key messages. We are complementing, we are working together. Should take the lead. It shouldn't take another 5 years to do this. Thank you so much, my panelists. It has been a good morning, and let's continue the rest of the day. Now, back to participants. Back to back, we are going to the next sessions. These are parallel sessions. The next session is going to be 2 parallel sessions. Oh, a photo, group photo, okay. Do we have photographers to take the group photo? So the panel that will take place in this room is going to be on infrastructure, energy, and connectivity, building the arteries of commerce between our 2 countries. And the moderator of that panel is going to be Monica Hangi, the country director for GASPI Africa in Tanzania. And I think the panelists are Oliver Bantin of Maersk, Mr. Philip Mainga, Kenya Railways, Engineer Kibla Kibias of Ketraco, and Mr. Masanja Machibia of Tanzania Railways Corporation. And then on Ruaha Hall, just outside to the left, we'll have a parallel session on financial systems, fintech, and the digital economy. And this will be led by Mr. Eric Masinda, the CEO of FSDT, Financial Sector Deepening Trust in Tanzania. And the panelists will be honored to have the Deputy Governor, Madam Sauda Msemo. And then other panelists include Mr. Jaswinda Bedi and Mr. David Tarimo of KEPSA. And I think Dr. Abdulmajid Nsekela might be represented by someone else in the panel. So please make a choice. We have about 3-5 minutes to switch. I'll advise those seated up there to be joining that panel in Ruaha Hall so that we can start in about 3 minutes. And each panel will take about 40 minutes. Monica, you have 40 minutes for the panel so that we are done by around 1. So 5 minutes for switch over into the various panels. And then we'll be starting at around 12:20 with an aim of completing at around 1-ish. After the lunch break, which will take up from around 1 to 2 to something, we'll have a panel on trade, agriculture, and it will be moderated by Mr. Ahmed Farah, the CEO of East African Business Council. So after the lunch break, we'll come back to the main plenary hall for the for the 4th and last panel of the day, and then we'll clear the room for preparations for the presidential session.